Welcome back to Live from Paris, where it's now time for Media Watch France. Olivia Salazar-Winspear joins me in the studio. Hello to you, Olivia. So we're starting off with the question of national security here in France. The new administration changing the way that police will be carrying out spot checks in the streets from now on.
Yes, this is about the spot checks that police can make for your ID. I mean, they have the right to ask you for your ID at any point in the street. The new administration's mooted an idea that will mean that the officer who asks you for your ID will have to give you a receipt with his name and a registration number on it so that you have a paper trace of what's happened to you. Now, the reason they're doing this is one of François Hollande's campaign promises, actually, as this article on France TV shows here. He wants to combat what he calls, checks based on appearance, which
racial profiling.
Well, that's the phrase that a lot of people have used. What they call an institutionalized form of racism, because they think that the police are actually choosing the people who they target based on, like you say, racial profiling. Now, Prime Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault say they're considering the idea, and that's with a lot of support from the association SOS Racisme. That was the association that suggested the idea to the government initially, because they said France had to come in line with other European countries where there was more of a trace about who was getting checked and how often. And this actually is corroborated by a report that was published yesterday by Human Rights Watch that said France has a worryingly high number of checks based on appearances, and some young men specifically are getting checked 5 or 6 times a day. There was also a study done at the Gare du Nord area, which is a central station in Paris, saying that ethnic minorities were checked a lot more than white people who look to be of, traditional French descent. The police, of course, are not very happy about this idea. They say that this really undermines their
authority,
control, their authority, exactly. They say that somebody who's been checked in the morning will just, brandish his receipt in the afternoon and say, oh, you can't check me again, I've been done. And even if he's doing something illegal, then he'll be safe with his document. Now, the reaction on the internet has been quite funny. There's people who support both, either side. This guy on Twitter says, well, he's obviously with the police. The guy who has nothing, the person who has nothing to worry about, has nothing to hide, shouldn't worry about police checks, whatever colour he is. And this guy's very funny. He's definitely taking a lighter look at it. He says, well, if we're going to have a receipt for ID checks, then maybe it'll be like a loyalty card. And once we rack up 10, we'll get the 11th one free. Like a coffee.
Excellent. Oh, it's nice to see people on Twitter always with a good dose of humour. Now, you've got the latest news from the parliamentary campaign here that's going on in France. And Marine Le Pen, of course, has been out canvassing some votes.
Yes, she has. She's in Hénin-Beaumont, the department in the north of France, where she'll be going head-to-head with the extreme left, the Front de Gauche, Jean-Luc Mélenchon's party. And she was out in the streets meeting supporters, showcasing her policies. Except that, of course, she's always in the headlines for being quite candid with her views, and today's no exception.
What did she say?
France Télévisions have been following her, and just to contextualise a little, I'll show you the video. She's in the streets meeting supporters. She encounters a Mélenchon supporter in a convertible car, and they exchange a few words. Let's take a hear of Marine Le Pen.
That's really nice. Thanks. You're just the proof of what I'm always saying. And did you win that car in the lottery, or did you buy it with your wages? Every time someone's shouting their support for Mélenchon, it's someone from a North African background. Every time.
Shouting support for Mélenchon, but she's shouting her mouth off at the streets there.
Yeah, she's not scared of that at all. But basically what she was saying, or what she was suggesting, was that this guy could not have bought his car through legitimate means, that he had to have won it in the lottery. And what some people have surmised on the internet, they've said, well, what Marine Le Pen is saying is that in Hénin-Beaumont, either you're white and you vote Front National, or you're from a mixed ethnic background and you play the lottery.
Well, one can't argue with that. I don't know much about Hénin-Beaumont myself, but certainly caught in controversy as ever, Marine Le Pen. And in fact, she's stood up a little bit more, this time in Israel, where she made an appearance. We have to put that in inverted commas, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. It's not really a real-life live appearance, but where you'd least expect her, Marine Le Pen crops up, and this time in Tel Aviv, of all places. Now, it wasn't the real Marine, of course. It was in the context of a Madonna concert. Madonna was giving a concert in Tel Aviv yesterday, in fact. And during the song Nobody Knows, which Madonna performed, there's a montage where you see Madonna's face. Here you can see it. Le Parisien have a good version of it on the front page there. There's a montage of Madonna's face that is cut with iconic figures from the 20th century. And one of those is, in fact, Marine Le Pen. Now, I've slowed down this clip so you can see it happen. There's a clip that we've prepared. Marine Le Pen's face comes after Madonna's face and before Adolf Hitler. So let's take a look at that.
Oh, perhaps that video.
So there you can see a swastika that appears after her face. Now, of course, posted on YouTube this morning, it only had a couple of thousand views. By the afternoon, it had 25,000. And some comments underneath saying, wow, you know, I didn't realise Marine Le Pen was a Nazi and that 20% of French people were voting for the Nazi party.
It's interesting that she is an iconic figure of the 21st century, though, isn't she?
Yes, and this is not the only time that she's been used. The Le Pen family have been used, actually. Madonna also used Jean-Marie Le Pen in one of her tours in about 6 years ago, 2006. So obviously someone on her design team is into French politics.
Thanks very much for all of that, Olivier. That was Media Watch. Stay with us here on Live from Paris. We'll have more headlines for you at the top of the hour.